roll on 1 p.m. Eastern. Jacksonville Jaguars 3-6, 1-3 on the road. Kansas City Chiefs 6-2, 3-1 at home. Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. I went 1-2 in sides last week. So I went 5-2 on the week. I cashed all the totals. But the sides were a problem, and the Jags got me. Snapped their 5-game winning streak, and they got me. Let's see what we're dealing with here against the Chiefs. This opened up with the Jags as 10-point dogs at -113. It's now 10 at -120. From a totals perspective, it opened up at 50.5, -107 to the over. Slightly juiced to the over. It's now juiced to the under. -112 to that under. LJ from H-Town looking at Jags plus 9.5. Perfect rotation says Chiefs blow the Jags out by 20. Let's take a look at where the cash lies and see if that will illuminate anything for us. Just 2,925 tickets in. But 82% of the tickets, 84% of the cash on these Chiefs. Then 48% of tickets, 74% of cash on the under. Jags coming off that 27-20 comeback victory at home over the Raiders. Battle down from 17-0. Second biggest comeback in franchise history. They had been 0-6 in one-score games before Sunday. So Trevor Lawrence, that interception on the goal line in the UK against the Broncos, he said that it just played over and over and over and over in his head. And this was the best game I've seen him play. He was so clean. 25-31, 235 yards, touchdown, ran 6 times for 53 yards. Travis Etienne, monster. You see why James Robinson was given the boot. 28 carries for 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 2 for 17. Christian Kirk caught 8 for 76. Marvin Jones caught 5 for 48. This team was 9 for 15 on third down. The defense pitches a shutout in the second half, held the Raiders to 3 of 12 on third down. Dwayne Smoot, both of the sacks. Vegas on their final 5 drives, 3 punts, a turnover and downs, and a fumble. They get Jamal Agnew back, and I know that the special teams doesn't play as big of a role, but he can be a game changer on special teams. Rashawn Jenkins left in the 4th. He's in concussion protocol. But the way they shut down Devontae Adams in the second half, Devontae Adams had 1 catch for 0 yards, was targeted 5 times after the monster first half, was impressive. The Chiefs coming off that hard-fought 2017 win at home over the Titans, they dominated statistically, but barely got past the Titans. Andy Reid, 21-3 now off a bye. He was just 2-9 against the Titans. Second win for KC in its last 7 games against the Titans. Mahomes 43, 68, 446, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He also ran 6 times for 63 yards. They could get nothing on the ground. Is that something that we will continue to see from this Chiefs team? Allaire, Pacheco, McKinnon, Burton combined for 13 carries and 14 yards. I'd be very interested if the Chiefs start being unable to run the ball. I would like you to touch on that and whether that was the Chiefs or the Titans' run defense. And just a couple more things here. This defense, I know that Malik Willis was at quarterback, but they held the Titans to 1 of 11 on third down, held the Titans to 9 first downs, 229 yards. And McCole Hardman is starting to look better and better. So is Juju. They're both starting to look really good. We know what Kelsey brings to the table. He caught 10 passes for 106 yards. Juju 10 for 88. McCole Hardman 6 for 79. So is the Chiefs running game a problem? And what do you think here of a double-digit dog or probably 9.5 at most books in the Jags?
Yeah, I really struggled with this one. This is probably a game that I'm just punting on completely because I've been back and forth and I poked so many holes in both sides of this. Like you said, Kansas City has struggled to run despite we've seen good individual efforts from all the running backs at certain points during the season. So I don't know, maybe I'll just give that front 7 some credit from Tennessee. The whole team played very hard. I know the offense couldn't get moving in the second half, but that Tennessee team in general, that defense kept him in the game because Kansas City came out firing in that second half. So credit's where it's due. And then the Jags, I'd love to take the points with this team. I think Bertie pointed out, Frank Clark's still suspended. Kansas City's defense is beatable in certain ways, but I've seen too many mistakes from Trevor Lawrence, and this is the kind of team where you make 1 or 2 mistakes and a couple of real promising drives end in field goals, all of a sudden you find yourself down by 20 points. And, I don't think we saw the best of the Kansas City Chiefs in the first half last week. We saw a really nice game plan, and, we have this every year where There's teams that really struggle with other teams. New England, even when they're really good, could never go down to Miami and be successful. It's the same kind of thing. Tennessee has won like 6 of the last 8 versus Kansas City. They just kind of have their number. It's always been decent matchups, and this is a Jaguars team where I don't know if they have that same kind of game plan. It's a different coach than the last time we saw these two teams meet. And I'm really sketched out by Trevor Lawrence's decision making. So I want to take the Jaguars. I just can't do it with the current product they're putting out. So this is one of those two, Jimmy, where I spent like 10 minutes looking back and forth at this, and I just realized like I don't have an angle. I can't bet this game. I don't know. Did you have strong thoughts on laying it here with Kansas City or backing Trevor Lawrence?
I know it's obviously it means backing Jacksonville, but I think that something clicked with Trevor Lawrence when he threw that ill-advised play, which it shouldn't have been a risky play, when he threw that interception at the goal line against the Browns, and he cost his team the game. And I saw a different Trevor Lawrence. He was so poised. He was not rattled by anything. He was not rattled by being down. And after seeing that, my first thought was, is it possible that going up against Mahomes is his coming out party in the NFL?
That's my struggle with Trevor Lawrence. I've thought that like 3 times this year, where it's like, all right, Urban's gone. They've got a couple of fun young rookies on this defense that are playing well. Trevor Lawrence is starting to take some strides. They have some weapons, and then they go out and just stink. And that's my last thought on this is, I don't know how much credit I want to give Jacksonville for last week. If it were an isolated incident, yes, but that's like the 3rd time the Raiders have had a big lead and just absolutely bottled half a game. I think they're poorly coached. I think they're poorly led, and they're just poorly managed right now in general. It's just a poor franchise, poverty franchise, guys. They just got another first rounder from a couple years ago. It's a mess out there, and that's where I struggled to realize like, how much credit should we give Jacksonville for that, or how much credit should we give the Saints for 2 weeks ago? It's been a really tough product out there in Vegas right now. So I think that's another reason I'm struggling to like get behind Jacksonville here.
Legitimately, completely legitimately. I think that I'm with Birdie. If I can get 10 or more, I probably move on the Jags. This will be one of those spots that it might help to wait and wait. So I do. I think if I can get 10 or more, I move on the Jags. Would you agree with this total? This total's now up to 50.5.
Yeah, it's a beatable defense. I mean, we saw that with what Adams did in the first half. And the Kansas City, they're never going to be the same as they were a couple years ago. They've found some ways to get things moving, but it's another thing too is like, points breed points. And if the Jags score, it's just going to kick the Kansas City offense into overdrive here. It's the worst part. If you have an under, you're more so cheering against the Jaguars than anything, because the last thing you want to do is have this offense have to kick it into high gear for the second half. So yeah, the total's probably nuts on for me.
Okay, we're going to move past that. I'm very interested in this game though, and I do think that
I agree. If you get double digits, I'm leaning that way. And if there was like a 10.5, it'd be awful tempting.
I think that a 10.5 is very possible Sunday at like 12:30 Eastern. I do. Right now, what about I get right now? Yeah, 9.5. Okay, I'm very interested in it, and I will keep my eye on it, and we'll talk about NFL Pub Hub. Let's move on